welcome to STEM Adventures in Outer Space, a unique high school space-based, project-based curriculum. I'm Lady Gwendolyn Smith-Robinson, and this class was designed to help prepare learners for life beyond high school. This free elective course, designed by Joe Maness, was inspired by a technical paper called Reusable New Space, which was also written by Joe Maness. His paper describes a complete space program that includes a space station and a lunar base. The goal of the class is to challenge high school students to investigate how mathematics can solve real-life problems by embarking on an imaginary journey into outer space using the Common Core State standards, as it is found in the world of space exploration. Their trek will begin in the fall semester with projects in aeronautics and aerospace, and will end in the spring semester with projects in astronautics. Student versatility will be further enhanced by the inclusion of other learning frameworks, such as creating artwork, writing technical papers, participating in discussion groups, and coding spreadsheet apps to automate the mathematical process. The prerequisite for this course is Geometry and Algebra 1. The prerequisite is Algebra 2. All 8 projects will consist of 7 components and their weights. They are 10% each of artwork, writing assignments, and discussion topics, 15% each of classwork, coding spreadsheet apps, and formative assessments, and 25% for the summative assessments. Classwork includes instruction time, internet assignments, guided practice, group work, and quizzes. The students will complete 4 projects per semester, with each project equal to 20% of their final grade in the class. The midterm and final exams are 10% apiece. Kindly note that almost 1/3 of their grade is for non-STEM assignments, due to our motivation to foster well-rounded students. Course artifacts include student handouts, practice sets, spreadsheets apps, and formative and summative assessments. Students will learn to create spreadsheet apps to automate the mathematical process. Spreadsheets will be an invaluable tool in this class and later, when they are at the university. The fall semester will introduce high schoolers to real spaceflight operations and will end with their own real space station designs. Project 1 finds the students confronting the stability and control of a drone. Students will use polynomial functions to calculate the center of gravity and other flight characteristics of a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. The students will be given an equation for pitch, roll, and translations of a DJI drone. They will use synthetic division to calculate whether the equation has a 0. If the 0 exists, then that particular axis is in balance. Project 2 will follow the path of a suborbital spaceflight. Students will use quadratic equations to calculate and graph the flight profile of a real-world suborbital spacecraft that operates from a real-world spaceport. They will be given the main engine cutoff, altitude and velocity of a Blue Origin suborbital spacecraft. Students will then calculate the time the spacecraft entered space, the apogee or maximum altitude, the total time spent in space, and the total time spent weightless. Project 3 will determine critical data points of an unpowered glide landing. Students will use trigonometric ratios to calculate the flight profile of a real-world suborbital spacecraft that is landing back at a real-world spaceport. The students will be given the distance and vertical angle of a Virgin Galactic suborbital spacecraft performing an unpowered glide landing back to Spaceport America. They will then calculate the spacecraft glide altitude, the glide distance to the spaceport, the glide speed, the glide slope, the descent rate, the ground distance to the spaceport, the ground speed, and the time until touchdown. The last project of the semester finds the students investigating space stations. They will use simultaneous equations to design a real-world space station, using real-world space station modules and launch vehicles. The students will be given the mass, internal pressurized volume, crew capacity, and cost of Bigelow inflatable space station modules, as well as the cost and capability of launch vehicles. They will deploy matrices to calculate the component costs, the launch vehicle costs, total space station mass, total space station pressurized volume and crew size. The winter break will allow the exhausted students a time for rest before going on in the next semester to even greater heights. The spring semester will find the pupils planning and financing an authentic mission to a near-Earth object using real rocketry designs derived from NASA and the private sector. First up is Project 5, which uses the Hohmann transfer orbit equation. Students will use rational exponents to calculate the required change in velocity and the amount of time needed to transfer from one orbital altitude to a different orbital altitude. They will be given the periapsis and apopsis orbital altitudes. They will then calculate the periapsis delta V, apopsis delta V, the delta V budget, the one-way and round-trip transfer times in seconds, minutes, hours, and days. Project 6 involves a space capsule. Students will use linear equations to calculate the engineering parameters of a crew module, which is a place where astronauts live and work while operating in space. With just the size of the crew as the input, the students will calculate the dynamic mass of a Boeing crew module designed in 1971, which includes the crew systems, environmental control, life support systems, expendables, and contingency. The overall mass of the crew module is also calculated, as well as the duration of the space mission. Project 7 involves a rocket. Students will use exponential and logarithmic equations to calculate the payload capacity of a rocket. They will use the delta V budget from Project 5 and crew module mass from Project 6 as part of their calculations. The Tsiolkovsky rocket equation will be solved for payload, and the students will determine how much extra mass that astronauts can carry on a Boeing rocket designed in 1971. The final project of the semester and of the class has the students thinking about financing their endeavours into space. Students will use business and financial concepts on a space mission that collects rocks and soil samples from an asteroid or comet to pay for the space mission. They will use projects 5, 6, and 7 to design a space mission to a near-Earth object. The additional inputs to this project are the mission cost and the selling price of the rocks and soil. The mission calls for depositing science equipment on the object and collecting and returning soil samples. The samples will be auctioned off, and the students will determine their return on investment. After the school year ends, the students will have earned a hearty well done from their community. A website has been set up by the teacher to encourage parental and/or guardian involvement and to verify that their child is indeed immersed in a robust project-based learning STEM environment. Go to STEMadventuresinouterspace.com for more information about this high school math elective. To learn about the author of this course, please visit his website at joemayness.com. We hope that this free curriculum will spark an excitement in learning and inspire students to further their education, so that one day they can become part of something bigger than themselves. This has been Lady Gwendolyn Smythe Robinson for STEM Adventures in Outer Space. Cheerio!